Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite. Today we are talking about one of my favorite shoes I've been running in recently. That is the New Balance FuelCell Rebel V3. Feels like every company's shoes are just getting longer and longer names, but it's okay. This shoe is worth the long name because I've enjoyed it so much throughout my first 103.5 miles in this shoe, according to my Strava, which if you're interested in looking at my other shoes, following along with my runs, you can find my Strava down in the description below. But beyond that, we're talking about shoes today. We're talking about the Rebel V3, what I have thought of it so far through my 100 plus miles, as well as what I've been using it for when it comes to my training, which primarily when it comes to the shoe has spanned from 5K training all the way up to marathon training. So before we get into talking about how it's felt out on the run, consider giving this video a like, a subscribe, whatever you want to do. If you've been enjoying this content from the channel recently, you don't have to if you don't want to, but otherwise sit back, relax, and let's talk about the Rebel. In a men's size 9.5, which is the size I wear, of course, this shoe comes in at about 7.7 ounces or 219 grams. It may have a couple extra decimal points of grams in it at the moment as I ran in the shoe this morning in an extremely humid run, but that's beyond the point. This is a really lightweight trainer when it comes to not just men's size 9.5 shoes, but shoes in general. Anytime you're looking at what I would refer to as a daily trainer, under 8 ounces is extremely lightweight in my opinion, and it definitely feels that way out on the run. When it comes to this midsole, we have 23.5 millimeters in the forefoot, 29.5 millimeters in the heel for a 6 millimeter drop. I wouldn't exactly call it max cushion compared to a lot of the shoes we are seeing, like the Super Blast that I've talked about in the past, even the Nova Blast or other shoes from New Balance that I have run in. This shoe is actually like pretty minimal when it comes to today's market, but I wouldn't say it feels like that. This is not a shoe that's going to give you a ton of ground feel, and I think that's primarily due to the midsole compound when it comes to FuelCell. It is like the softest midsole I have ever experienced when it comes to the running shoes I have run in. And if you are somebody who is a big fan of the Rebel V2, you will be very happy if you happen to pick up a pair of Rebel V3s because this shoe feels incredibly similar when it comes to that midsole. When it comes to the shoe in general, honestly, it feels just as accommodating in that upper. Really not a ton of changes from the Rebel V2 to the Rebel V3 other than some overlay designs and just like the aesthetics in general. Honestly, the mesh feels very similar. The structural points feel very similar. The midsole feels very similar, although it has added a couple millimeters in that FuelCell, but nobody's complaining about that, as the midsole is what makes the Rebel in general. Honestly, the outsole I think improved with this shoe. I found the outsole to be lacking in the Rebel V2 a bit. That seemed to be the first thing to go when it came to the Rebel V2, but it seems like they bolstered the rubber a little bit. It's still pretty soft. It's not like nerfing this soft midsole at all, but I think it looks like at least a bit more rubber coverage. I think that will let this shoe be a tad bit more durable. And the Rebel V2, which was already pretty durable for me, I got over 400 miles in my Rebel V2s. At 100 miles, I'm not feeling any degradation in the outsole other than in some of the very high traction areas like the toe off spot, middle of the forefoot, part of the back of the heel. Other than that, it feels absolutely no different than it did out of the box, which is a very good thing when it comes to the Rebels because you want these things to feel the same way all throughout. That's how fun it is to run in these shoes. So beyond the drop, beyond the weight, let's talk about what this shoe is like to run in, and it is so much fun. It seems like New Balance has tried to communicate to consumers that this is a daily trainer, and I would say that the slight added weight, the slight added cushioning has been sort of reinforcing that messaging from the Rebel V2 to the Rebel V3 now. And I don't really pull this shoe out for workouts. I know that I said it's very lightweight. I know that I said it has a very lively ride with that FuelCell, but it just feels like a little too soft to me for a workout shoe. If I have a very soft foam, I prefer some sort of like stabilizing element or propulsive element, aka a carbon fiber or nylon plate, in order to sort of counteract the softness. Otherwise, Feels like you're just kind of getting like bogged down in the softness of a midsole. I wouldn't say that's the case with this. I would say despite it being extremely soft, it's still giving you a ton of bounce back. And I find this to be very capable on a number of different runs. I find the softness to be able to hold up for recovery runs. This isn't like the first shoe I reach for when it comes to a recovery run because it doesn't have the widest of wide landing areas, whether we're talking the heel, the midfoot, or the forefoot. And I would say that if you are a bit of like a lazy foot striker on your recovery days, this shoe might lead you to like pronating quite a bit. So it works for recovery days with how soft it is. It might want you to pick up the pace a little bit on your recovery days if you're intending to go slow and easy. So I wouldn't exactly recommend it for that. I would say this is firmly a daily trainer when it comes to my rotation, and I am specifically reaching for it on days when I want to work up to a bit of a steady pace. So for me, steady pace, it's not as fast as marathon pace, but it's not as slow as easy or recovery pace. It's sort of this range between easy and marathon effort. So this is the shoe that shines for me on those efforts. When your running is a bit more intentional, there's a bit more effort being put into it, but you're not absolutely turning it into a workout. You're just kind of moving on your easy day, a steady day, a steezy day. This is the perfect sort of steezy or steady shoe for me. I find its lightweight nature, its lively ride to be perfect for that kind of run. And that's what I've reached for the most when it comes to this. Those sort of medium long runs in the range from anywhere from, I would say, 8, 9 to 12 or 13 miles, where you're just kind of keeping a nice steady rhythm all throughout. It doesn't bottom out at any point, and that amazing fuel cell is just as amazing as it was in the previous Rebel. No worries on that front. It's doing exactly what I thought it would do and wanted it to do, and I have no complaints when it comes to the ride of this shoe because, again, it can go a little longer than the Rebel V2 could due to that added stack height all around the shoe, but I wouldn't call it an absolute recovery shoe for easy days. So it is a pretty versatile shoe given all of its different qualities, being lightweight, being well cushioned, and your foot being well protected in the shoe. What do I like the most about the Rebel V3? I would say my biggest like, and it sort of encapsulates everything I've talked about, is that New Balance didn't change too much. They added more of what I liked in the Rebel V2, which was that fuel cell midsole, and kept pretty much everything else the same. And I think if you're looking for a lightweight daily trainer, this is the absolute best one out there because it is still technically the newest model out there from New Balance, and it is on sale absolutely everywhere right now. Whether you're shopping on REI, Joe's New Balance, or Amazon, you can get the shoe from anywhere between $60 and $70 right now. And the fact that this shoe is out there for that cheap, which is half of its original price, being a retail of $130, is like criminal. Like you're the criminal here. The people who are listing it are the criminals. We're not actually criminals, but like, get my point. Get this shoe. If you're curious to try it, if you want a lightweight daily trainer that can do a lot of different things and that you are gonna have fun in every time you lace it up, there's absolutely no risk in going and picking up one of the cheapest shoes out on the market right now that is on sale everywhere. That, in my opinion, is probably my favorite trainer out there in terms of the new models and iterations, notwithstanding the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, maybe the Super Blast as well. This shoe is like right up there for me when it comes to those shoes. Because of that price point right now, even retailing at $130 is a great price for this shoe. I have no dislikes for this shoe. There's nothing I'm not liking about this shoe. If I was a stability shoe dependent runner, then I might have some gripes about this shoe. This isn't a shoe I would go after if I'm somebody who needs like firmer support in the medial side of the midsole or the outsole. This isn't for you if you're an excessive pronator. Pronating is normal. Even professional runners pronate. So a little bit of pronation is just like the body's natural shock absorption mechanic. But if you're somebody who really pronates and typically needs a little bit more support, I would stay away from the Rebel V2, the Rebel V3, because it is just too soft and a little too loosey-goosey for somebody who needs stability support like that. Otherwise, no dislikes. Those are my thoughts on the Rebel V3. The shoe is fun, the shoe is cheap, and it is out there. So go get it if you haven't already. If you have run in the Rebel V3 already, let me know what your thoughts have been down in the comments below. Otherwise, that's all my thoughts on this shoe. Until next time, peace.